I remember the night perfectly. 3 years ago, summertime, putting my kids to bed, eating a brownie while they're brushing their teeth. I bite into this brownie and my front tooth cracks off. Like, literally, the whole front tooth cracked off. I look at my 10-year-old son and I laughed just like that, like, "Ugh." I said, "I think I have a dental emergency." And he was shocked. Like, just imagine your kids seeing you without a front tooth, right? And I FaceTimed my husband, who was out of the country, and I was like, "Hey, I have a dental emergency here." And the first thing my husband says is, "Don't do anything to fix it until we have a chance to take our Christmas card pictures." So I'm like, "Okay, like, we're gonna roll with the sense of humor." And I had no idea what the next 3 years were gonna entail as far as getting my smile fixed. But Imma walk you through some of the things that I've learned because really this podcast is about lessons in authenticity, humility, and showing up for yourself. So let's just jump right into it. So I lost both of my front teeth like 20 years ago in a broom ball accident. And it was fine for like, 17 years. I just didn't really have to pay any attention to it. But until that fateful night when the brownie busted my tooth out, it's because I had two infected root canals. So it was inevitable. They were going to come out. So why not then, right? So what happened that week was I actually had a lot of plans. I was going to be traveling, I had concerts to go to, I had work to do. I'm a commercial real estate broker, so you can imagine the types of people that I associate with. Very business, investors, brokers, business people, business owners. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to show up. I can't cancel my life. I can't just not show up. So I made a decision that I was not going to let missing my front teeth hold me back. My first appointment that I had with the dentist was to get both of the teeth fully extracted because of the infected root canal. So they extract the root. This appointment was terrible. Not only was it extremely painful, and I don't think the dentist did a very good job of like emotionally preparing me, nor physically preparing me for how uncomfortable that appointment would be, and then what was going to happen after. Like, yo, when am I going to get some teeth up in here? Right? It's all fun and games until you realize, oh yeah, it's going to be another week. I went 28 days without front teeth. And I learned a lot in those 28 days, but I remember specifically getting to the point of like, okay, this isn't really funny anymore. I would really just like to have my front teeth back so I can go on smiling and feeling like I don't have to explain myself every time I smile or meet a new person or even go and pump my gas. Like there's one time I was going to pump my gas and I was like having a nervous breakdown because I was like, "Do I need to go in there and like smile and explain myself to this person that I'm gonna have like a 30-second interaction with? Or can I just smile and go about my day and not worry about what a gas station attendant thinks about my face?" So that might sound insignificant to you, like, well, yeah, who cares? But until it's you, until you're living it, you would have a moment too, perhaps, where you got to that breaking point of like, you need to decide how you're going to live. How are you going to show up? Right. So I went through this bad dentist era where I went back in that dentist chair. I don't even really want to call her a dentist. It was awful. It was such a poor experience every time I sat in her chair. Things just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I think she did 4 bone grafts on me, and it was just never enough, right? Because they're trying to build up the tissue. I had 14 millimeters of bone loss, so very severe three-dimensional bone loss. And they're trying to build up the bones so they could do some implants and then, let me be on my merry way. So bone graft after bone graft after bone graft. It was like, okay. And then every time I have a bone graft, I can't put a flipper in right after. I need to let it heal. So it would be like, okay, here's another week without front teeth. And that was just my life, right? I had one point where I was invited to a very special social event, and the person who had invited me, I let her know. I was like, "Hey, I'm really excited to go to this, but I'm not going to have teeth." And I should have just not told her. I should have just showed up, but I would have had to deal with it later anyways. But she actually uninvited me. This is a very close friend of mine. She uninvited me and she said, "I'll pay for your flipper." And I'm like, "It's not a matter of money. They just I can't put a flipper in right now." And I couldn't get it that fast either. And she said, "You know what? I'm just really not comfortable having you there because there's going to be like professionals there that I'm networking with." And she was afraid of being judged by standing next to me and was scared to claim me. So at that moment, this person is still my friend. I forgave them for that because I look at the situation with a lot of empathy because I've had experiences in my life where how do I say this? I mean, I've just learned to take a lot of responsibility for myself and to have an incredibly high level of self-awareness. Now, that's not to say I don't have blind spots. I absolutely still have blind spots, and I have signed up in this life for this growth journey. I look at everything as like, how can I grow through this? And I consider myself high agency, meaning no matter what life throws me, whether it's missing teeth for long extended periods of time, or it's a challenging client, or it's a disappointing this, that, or the other thing, I always look at it through the lens of my personal choices involved in this situation will determine the outcome. So I'm not a victim in life. By the way, have you ever wondered if you were missing your front teeth, would you still put lip gloss on? And the answer to that question for me is I absolutely still wear lip gloss to accentuate my smile. So I have a lot of fun with it actually because once I got in the hands of a good dentist and I knew that there was an end in sight, I felt so much better about the whole entire situation. So after two I don't wanna talk for hours about my surgeries, but this dentist, she gave me implants. I woke up from the surgery and my teeth were tiny. They were like, oh, to there. They were little. They were like half as long as they should have been. And I was like, WTF? Why do I have baby teeth? And she said, I didn't measure. I didn't measure, and that's why they're tiny. And I looked at her and I'm like, what am I doing in this chair? I cannot believe this. And she said, "You're gonna have to come back next week, and we're gonna have to redo it." And I was like, "That's wild. That's absolutely wild." But I didn't have a choice at that point. I had friends who were well, I did have a choice, but, I had friends and family that were encouraging me, like, "Go see a different dentist." And it's like, when you're in the middle of it, it's so difficult to just be like, "Okay, yeah, let me make time for one more thing." Like, keep in mind, I'm a busy mom. I got 3 children. They're amazing. Right now, they're 10, 8, and 6 years old. I run my own business. I have multiple businesses. I have a robust life. So I don't really have time for more dental consultations, and it's kinda urgent. So I let this lady go one more time on my teeth and try to fix the implants. Well, 3 months after she went in there, turns out the implants failed. And at that point, I was like, okay, look, I'm done feeling powerless. I've been in the wrong hands and I've stayed too long. I stayed too long with that dentist. And I want you to think about your own life. The story is not just about me telling some comical story or like little anecdote here. It's think about your own life. Have a moment of self-reflection because certainly we all can take a look at the times when we felt powerless, been in the wrong hands and stayed too long. Why? Let's go back to that feeling, figure out that feeling and what can we do to make sure that never happens again, right? So, you know what? What I learned through all this is how you show up. Like, do you show up with apology? Do you show up explaining yourself? Do you not show up because you're not perfect? Because you're missing something? My professional era over the last couple of years has actually been incredible. because I have chosen to show up unapologetically and without explaining myself, I have been in some incredible rooms and inevitably. Okay, so normally I do wear like a retainer with two front teeth, okay? If it's post surgery, you got to take a few weeks off, so I do run around like this, ruthless and toothless. But when I eat, I have to take the retainer out. So like I go on these professional lunch appointments, I go out to these events, I meet with clients. Like sometimes I do got to take my teeth out. And navigating that, like I'm not going to not have lunch. I'm not going to not eat. I'm not going to deny myself of social life and eating experience because I'm nervous they might see that I don't have 2 front teeth. I am pretty good with my upper lip control, I will say that. Like, I could talk like this and you could maybe not notice, right? I do tend to smile a lot, and I'm a happy person most of the time, 99% of the time, pretty happy. So it's gonna come out. So I've just chosen to keep a sense of humor about it and to not let it stop me. So showing up anyway, and back to the friend that kind of put me off, right? She's like, no, you're not invited, you don't have teeth. It's going to be too embarrassing. I forgave her actually pretty easily. I was pretty sad for like a week or two about it. I was like, damn, like what is this friendship, like this sucks. But I had a lot of grace in that situation because that's just where she was at. It wasn't a reflection of me. It wasn't a reflection of my character. And I look back now and had a conversation with her recently, and she's like, "Yeah, those people that I was hanging out with were really shallow." And I'm like, "Well, thank you for uninviting me. Like, I certainly don't want to be around that environment. I have been around people where I can just tell that they would be embarrassed. They're the kind of people where, like, I post on my social media when I'm having surgeries or whatever. And I just know there's people out there and they're like, why does she post pictures like that? Why can't she just keep her teeth in? And honestly, I don't care. I don't whatever. If that bothers them, they can stop looking at my pictures. I'm not going to hide who I am. I'm not going to hide my experience, the lessons that I've learned, and showing up perfectly imperfect because someone else thinks that it's weird. Okay, like why does she do that? That's weird. Like whatever. I don't care. Call it weird. That don't even bother me, right? So the final like the shift, the internal shift where this went from like survive, at first it was funny and then it went to surviving and then it shifted into complete acceptance and actually I get my bridge on Monday and I kind of am a little bit sad. Like, I'm not going to have a party trick anymore. And I mean, I'm kind of kidding. I'm very much looking forward to having the bridge and not having to put this piece of plastic in my mouth every day just to have front teeth. But I did think this morning on the way to work, on the way into the office, I was like, you know what? I better record a podcast. Well, I have the chance. Like after Monday, I don't think I'm going to be able to take the bridge out. I'm going to have teeth like everybody else. So, let's just record this and take advantage of the situation because you know what? Over time, I have actually run into a handful of people who have had dental trauma. They've had one gal actually was missing her front tooth and she thanked me. She said, Amy, I'm so thankful that you show up how you do because it's given me courage to do the same. So today, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. And they are important thoughts. Number one, show up. Number two, don't apologize for showing up. You are enough. And finally, don't explain yourself. You don't have to explain anything about yourself. You just show up, do your best, and stop waiting for things to be perfect to do the thing, right? So we could be talking about like a relationship, a business idea, a conversation that you need to have. Maybe you've been avoiding taking action in a certain area in your life. And here on this podcast, we talk about high agency. We're talking about what can you do in your life to produce better outcomes. We are not about blame. We are not about being a victim. None of that. So I want to challenge you to think about your life right now. And also just for fun, bring yourself to the place of what would you actually do if you lost your two front teeth and you woke up tomorrow and you had to go to work, you had to go meet with a client, you had to go meet with a potential business partner, or you had to meet with somebody, what would you do? Would you be able to show up? Would you do it? Would you have to explain? Would you have to would you what would you do? And I think just bringing yourself there could offer a moment of self-reflection on your willingness to show up as an authentic person. Um, we'll just see how that lands, right? So for today, that's all I have. I'm so glad that you joined me on this very, very special limited edition episode where I am telling you the truth. You want the tooth, you can't handle the tooth. We'll see you next time when I have probably a full set of teeth, and maybe you'll see me a little differently, but hopefully not. Hopefully not. So, thank you for joining me on High Agency. I look forward to the next conversation where we talk about empowering you to live your best life, making sure nothing holds you back. All right. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like, comment, and share, subscribe because we're trying to get the message out there. I'm building a community of authentic people that are growing, people that are at the top or on their way there. Thanks for joining. Amy Martin, signing off.